Welcome back, friends, and we are live again. We are Notes from the Edge. I'm your host, Lisa Lacey, writer, trauma educator, executive advisor, author of the upcoming memoir, Notes of a Certified Madwoman, and we are on track still, yay, to release in October. Today, we're going to have a conversation that asks a very important question. What if nothing is wrong with you? And we're going to talk about understanding the behaviors that actually help us survive until they don't. So, this is a conversation about trichotillomania, body focused repetitive behaviors, shame, neuroscience, and learning to replace self judgment with self knowledge, awareness, and understanding. And I'm going to throw in compassion in there too. Welcome our guest. Jessie Hannah is the creator of Bear Becoming, whose work is helping thousands of people rethink what they believe about mental health, coping behaviors, and even the nervous system. For 25 years, Jessie hid her trichotillomania behind shame before making a very courageous decision to shave her head publicly and ask different questions. And you guys that follow us know we love to ask the better questions in here. So she's asking, instead of what's wrong with me, what is this behavior protecting me from? Because once you know that, you can go from there to start healing it. So that single shift has helped millions understand themselves better. So this is not just a conversation about hair pulling or body focused repetitive behaviors. It's a conversation about survival, identity, shame, and what happens when we start getting curious instead of judgmental about ourselves and about each other. Jessie Hannah is the creator of Bear Becoming, which is an educational platform dedicated to helping people understand the neuroscience behind BFRBs, that's body-focused repetitive behaviors, including trichotillomania, skin picking, and related coping behaviors. After hiding her own hair pulling disorder for more than 25 years, Jessie, that's a long time. That's a long time. She shaved her head in 2025, transformed her personal journey, and started an educational movement. And her content has reached millions worldwide by combining her lived experience with accessible neuroscience. Guys, that means you're going to be able to apply it and use it and actually transform with it. So she's into asking better questions, and I dig that. Jessie, welcome in. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction.
Yes, well, you deserve it. You deserve it. All of our guests are absolutely amazing. And it's so funny. My coaching budget is going to go way up because I want to work with every single one of you guys. I'm like, I've got that and I've got that and I need to work on that. So, yeah.
There you go.
Let me get comments pulled up here so we know when people are coming in. We've got a few people in with us. Okay. So, I love this, Jessie, because you often say, stop saying what's wrong with you to ourselves and to each other. And you ask instead, what is this behavior protecting me from? So talk about that shift. We start off with our guests with their origin story, particularly the biggest transition point. What was that and when was that and how did that happen for you?
The biggest transition point for me would definitely be when I shaved my head last year, which was about 15 months ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt at that time like I had lost like 500 pounds all at once. It wasn't just a physical transformation, it was a complete like mental breakthrough, where
Wow.
all the narratives that had been constructed in my head, or inherited from other people or passed down to me, just kind of disappeared at once. And I was finally able to see things clearly, and give myself, yeah, as you mentioned, compassion for the first time, which was insane.
I bet. Well, and I just have this visual of you, and I have actually shaved my head before,
Yeah.
on a drunken bet. on a drunken
Oh,
bed.
okay.
Yeah.
Completely different reason.
It's a completely different reason. Yeah. And what's so
Good for
funny
you.
is you don't know what your head looks like until you actually shave your head. So you look beautiful, by the way. This look
Thank you.
just suits you. So I absolutely love it. But yeah, and when my mom saw me the first time, she cried and she got all judgmental and it was terrible. And
Hmm.
it was back in the 90s when Sinead O'Connor was like the hot thing. It was in. It was in.
I'm
So,
still
but it
being
did
related to her.
what?
I'm still being related to her. People are saying I'm like Sinead O'Connor.
She did a lot of good work and got
She did.
um she got a bad rap. She was early for her time. She was early for her time. So and she was so young when she had to endure so much harassment. So it's a sad story. So for 25 years, man, that's a long time. You hid this. What was it like carrying that every day? And how did you have to organize your life around
Yeah.
hiding that in shame?
So it was constant, like the constant worry of if somebody would see and what they would think of me if they did see, because I was just judging myself for it. I just thought, this is something I should be able to control. You start thinking it's a character flaw, that something's wrong with you, but now I know that I know better. But yeah, you're constantly wondering like, how can I cover this up? What kind of hairstyle should I wear? Even when you're invited to an event, like let's say I was invited to a wedding, the first thought I have is, oh no, how can I style my hair? Because I would wear ponytails
Mm.
before. And you can't always wear a pony. It's not always appropriate to wear a high pony, I guess. So, or I didn't want people to catch on to me, why are you always styling your hair the same way? So I would wear ponytails, half up, half down hairstyles before. Then I started wearing extensions. So that when my hair was getting thinner on top, I put extensions here so that my ponytail would still cover everything up. And then eventually I turned it to wigs. Like I had a boyfriend and he asked me to a Christmas party with him. And he had asked me before a couple of times, like, I'd love to see your hair down. So I went and bought a really expensive wig that I had to go into credit card debt for, just to make it so believable that it's real. And that kind of actually gave me more room to keep pulling because it's like I'm covered now. I can just put on this wig and I can go as much as I want. Yeah, and like not going on certain vacations because I didn't want to get my hair wet or like be in the beach. I still haven't
Man, that is just constant.
constant,
Constant. So
constant, and
your
then also
entire life was organized around this.
yes, like even during college, I was serving in restaurants, and if the servers were meant to like had to leave their hair down, then I wouldn't take a job at that restaurant. Um, and then
Mm.
actually, when I did decide to shave my head, I was working in a restaurant, and I actually decided to quit my job before shaving my head because I couldn't deal with the idea of 50 people at once looking at me like what just happened. So. Um, yeah. So it definitely my life was organized around it for sure. Like even, you know, seating arrangements, thinking about sitting in the back row so nobody can see the back of my head, or standing against walls so people couldn't see. Yeah, it was a lot.
Wow. I mean, that is every day looping through your mind, organizing everything around it. Yeah. Well, and I understand when I was in active addiction, when you're in active addiction, right? Your life is organized around the addiction. And towards the end there, I was hiding it in closets, hiding the wine and stuff in closets. So you do start organizing your life around it. So your work focuses on a lot of neuroscience, and I'm a bit of a brain geek because, I got so many labels thrown at me and I wanted to figure my brain out. So, what actually happens in the brain? Talk to us about what happens in the brain with body focused repetitive behaviors and why is it? Oh, did people just tell you just stop? Oh, that would annoy the piss out of me. It's like I'm sure you were like, I would if I could. Like,
Yeah.
guys, come on. I would if I could. So talk to us. What is biologically happening?
So there's a lot happening, and I want to preface by saying I'm not a neurologist or anything like that. I've just been like doing my rogue research for my whole life learning about this. I did actually
Mm,
go to school to university to study psychology, but I couldn't stop pulling my hair out, so I dropped out. Um,
mm.
so yeah, I've just been kind of, trying to figure things out myself. But from what I've learned, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in our bodies at all times, and we're only aware of such a little amount of it. Like our whole bodies are running, and we're not conscious of like our heart pumping or our blood going through our bodies or our digestion system. It just runs on autopilot, right? There's all of these hormones and all of these systems just coming into play that we have no conscious awareness of. And that's what the nervous system, like that's what it is, I guess, is there's three components to it. There's your sensory input, and then your brain function, where you decide what to do with that input. And then there's the motor function output. So say like somebody walks by you in the supermarket, there's usually enough, like it's not a huge trigger where you have time to think about what your reaction is going to be. Whereas if you put your hand on a hot stove, you don't have time to think about it. You're automatically pulling your hand back.
Right.
So there's a bunch of stuff happen, and our conscious thought is only such a small fragment of it, and really not aware of most of the things that are happening.
So it's almost like it's on autopilot,
Yeah,
everything.
so
Just on automatic.
BFRBs there's three different versions of it, or like three different stances, I guess, that you could be in. So there's automatic, where it's happening very like what you just said, like autopilot, the same way we like scratch an itch or something like that. It's just you start doing it. For BFRBs, it's like a scanning. Usually you'll start scanning top of your head to feel something, or like if you're a skin picker, like scanning your skin to feel anything out of place. And then we have different triggers, which would be the sensory input. It could be visual, it could be physical. And then you just start pulling. For me, I would just start pulling and pulling and pulling. And all of a sudden, I see a big hair pile on my floor. And I just didn't even realize it was happening. And then there's also
Wow.
yeah. And then there's also the focused version. So trichotillomania and BFRBs are in the DSM-5, and they're under OCD and anxiety related disorders. So I would say that the focused version of it is more OCD. I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but that's when I see um, a white hair on my head and I have to get every single white hair or something like that. And you're fixated, or like, I just need to get this whole entire spot even. And you become
And
fixated
you
and you
can't,
can't
and
stop.
then it just gets worse. It just
Yeah.
Jesse, that
And
sounds like torture.
it's
That sounds
torture.
like torture. Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah. But
mean, to live in.
the worst
Go
one is
ahead.
a version which is called the trance-like state, which is when you kind of just, I guess the closest thing that I could relate it to is when, you open a bag of chips and you say just one, but you just can't just have one. You just keep
Oh, no, you're eating the
going.
whole bag.
Yeah, it's like that, but times 1,000. Like you really feel like you have no control of coming out of it.
That's
Yeah.
scary. That is
Yeah.
scary, not having control. I'm a bit of a, for reasons starting in childhood, I'm a bit of a control freak, so not that would be scary. So, so there's a lot. It sounds like there's a lot happening in the brain and a lot of steps involved in the process. Shame has traditionally been used as motivation to make people change. They use it in AA for people who relapse. But your work suggests that shame keeps people trapped. I love the word curiosity. It's one of my favorite words, willingness and curiosity. So, why do you feel curiosity is a more powerful path forward, especially compared to such a heavy emotion like shame?
I would say, I think I say this all the time. Curiosity can't coexist with judgment. I think when we are judging
Mm,
ourselves and we're living in that shame state, we're just not capable of being curious. And if we're not capable of being curious, how are we capable of getting better? So I
yeah.
was definitely stuck in that shame mindset for 25 years where I thought, I should be able to control this. This is something's wrong with me. It's a character flaw. And then when I switched to curious, maybe something is not wrong with me. Maybe it's not a character flaw. That's when I was actually able to take steps and feel empowered to taking action and to getting curious, if I had a slip, wondering what happened instead of just thinking I effed up
I'm
and
defective.
I'm a
Yeah.
failure.
I effed it up. Yeah. 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 It's interesting. Our brains, when I first started noticing my own internal critic when I first got sober, I would be in my head just being nasty to myself. You're so stupid. You're such an F up. You're never going to have healthy relationships. It's all your fault. Some of it was my own voice. Some of it was other people's input, right? From childhood and from life and from my second marriage. And I would catch myself, and my I have a point to this. The healing is it's not a trudge, but it's baby steps, right?
Mhm.
Because it required one thought at a time. So I had to take that "I'm so stupid" thought and replace it with the statement of fact, which is I'm actually a highly intelligent woman. So every time that thought would come up, I'd have to replace it with I'm actually a highly intelligent woman. And now the thought of me being stupid, I'm like, I ain't stupid. So I mean it worked,
Yeah.
but it was one thought at a time. So
Mhm.
talk to me about your healing process and how you look empowered now. I mean, you're glowing now. So how did you go from, just mired in shame and sitting in the back all the time to this is who I am and there is nothing wrong with me, right? How did you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. I would say that that word, like empowered, what happens is I had to give myself proof of that over time. I started doing a thing, I'm sure you're aware of cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
So I told my doctor, I was having so much issues and I couldn't stop pulling my hair out. And she found me this local group BFRB CBT program at the local hospital. It took about a year
Nice.
to get in. Yeah. So that was about 2 months before I shaved my head.
They
um,
had a year and a half long waiting list.
yeah, it's
Ah,
pretty specialized, I guess. But we got in and it
good.
was my first time talking openly with people who had the same condition as me that understood it, that actually were looking at me like, I know exactly what you're saying. Whereas everybody else I had spoken to in my life was like, I'm sorry you're going through that, I guess, but I don't really know what that's like. So it
And you
was it
should
was really
just be able
cool.
to stop. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody. A lot of people like, had sympathy but it's a whole different game when it's somebody that is looking at you and is like, I know exactly how you feel. Um,
Yeah.
and so I guess to get back to your question, we learned this term called catastrophizing, which is basically when you have like an all or nothing thought about what your behavior is or what your coping pattern is or whatever you're trying to overcome. Where, for example, you say, I can't stop. I failed because I pulled my hair out yesterday. But you haven't been keeping track of what you've been doing. So, for example, again, I use a calendar, a physical calendar that I have on my kitchen wall. And I would write down like how many hairs I pulled that day or what the duration was, like how long I sat down and did that for. And I, over time, like saw in July, for example, for the whole month of July, I had pulled out 500 hairs. And then I went
Okay.
to November and I pulled out my hair and I was like, I'm still doing this. I'm like, nothing is working. But then I looked at my calendar and I'd only pulled 20 hairs that month. So
Oh,
you're able to
wow. That's a
see,
big
yeah.
difference.
And that's when
Yeah.
you're not like, that's what catastrophizing it, like the damage that it does. But when you can actually see proof that you're doing better, that helps you, make those feel empowered to keep making changes,
Yes.
trying to make progress.
Yes. Well, our brain, that's why, in again, with my thought stopping it, I needed statements of fact. Like you needed documentation. My brain needed to be able to say something to itself that was factual, right? That you
Mhm.
could see, you could prove. So I love that. For you, it was documentation. For me, it was statement of fact. So there are
Yeah.
so many different ways to get up here and stop the looping, right?
Yeah.
And stop the obsessive thoughts and the chronic thoughts. But OCD is very treatment resistant, isn't it? Or am I
Mhm.
wrong about that? Is it very hard to treat?
It is very hard to treat. It's actually kind of like the way it seems to be explained, that from what my understanding is, um, you have a genetic predisposition to something like this,
Okay.
OCD, or this kind of coping behavior, like neurobiological behavior, neurobehavioral. I think that's the word. Um, Anyway, so it doesn't mean like you could be triggered by anything. Like a lot of the time it's for BFRBs, it's overstimulation or understimulation. So it's your body's way of regulating itself. If you feel like,
Ah,
yeah.
okay. That makes
Um,
total sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the stigma is like, oh, that means you're anxious if you're shaking your leg or something, but it's actually not necessarily anxiety. It
Yeah, like
could just,
I pace to regulate. And most people would look at that like I'm a rat in a cage, like pacing because I'm
yeah.
anxious, but it calms me. So,
Yeah.
but anybody seeing it from the outside would be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you pacing so fast in your house in a circle? You look like a crazy person, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's me regulating myself. And when I
Exactly.
chat with my friends, I'm walking and I'm talking and that calms me. It calms me down. So, I thought that OCD was difficult to resolve completely. Um, and it does just sound like having a brain that would be so challenging to manage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way that your brain has decided is it calms it down or it
Great.
regulates itself. Yeah. So what happens commonly, like like I could say I can verify this for myself, but when you stop one BFRB or one form of OCD, usually another one will form. So for me, like I
Really
shaved my head and then I started picking at my skin on my nails, and I never did that before. But it's the same kind
interesting.
of thing. It's like a body focused behavior that I just can't seem to stop.
Well, in addiction, very often we recovering addicts will do the same thing. And so for Brody and I, it was we had sobered up, but then we had some sex addiction to deal with. I had some hypersexuality, and then I went through a little shopping phase there for a little while. I was a little addicted to some crystals. I liked getting my packages in the mail; they were a treat. So
Mm,
yeah, we're recovering addicts, so we got to watch it.
yeah. It's also like what you're talking about is like dopamine hits, right? Like our brain is
Mhm,
supposed
mhm.
to give it to us naturally, but some of us need excessive help, I guess. But also, it's like I think we do need to be easier on ourselves too, because we live in this weird world that's not natural. There's so much
Mhm.
stimulation all the time that we're acclimatized our bodies to getting dopamine in an unnatural way. So it makes sense. I think that that's what we're doing.
Well, and we're getting hit vibrationally all day long,
Yeah.
right? With heavy toxic vibrations. So it's I believe very highly in vibrational energy. One of the things that happened when surgical menopause hit for me was systemic neuropathy. And one of the symptoms was electrical shocks through my body, and it was fascinating to me. Now it did hurt, but it was fascinating to me. I got on some peptides and it eased it up a little bit, but it was literally electricity going through my body. And so it was just proof and data for me that, man, we really are electricity. I mean, our hearts give off an electromagnetic field that's 3 to 6 feet off of our body. So yeah, we're pure vibration and pure energy. Well, how has your support structure been since you've kind of transitioned and transformed into a new sense of empowerment and freedom? Have they adapted well?
I guess previously I didn't I can't really say, I mean, I have lovely people in my life, but I can't really say that I had a support system because I internalized it all. So I didn't really talk to anybody about it. Um,
Mm.
and now, I shaved my head and I kind of had like a coming out party with some girlfriends. After I shaved my head, I decided like, let's go, like I want all my friends to come with me to have a dinner and let me debut my head with my support group.
I love that.
Yeah,
Nice.
it
Yeah.
was fun. But yeah, that I guess it's a different phase now. It's easier, maybe easier for people to support you when you're feeling empowered. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's
Yeah, see,
different.
I think people just get uncomfortable sometimes and they don't know what to say or do. And
Yeah.
sometimes when people feel helpless, they shut down on us. You know, I
Yeah,
think there's fear there for them, there's concern. And I think sometimes them feeling helpless causes them to go into denial states. I mean, their brains are doing stuff. There is not one normal brain on this planet. I'm sorry. You can't show me one. You can't show me one. We're all built and designed completely different. So I think people just sometimes don't know what to do or say.
yeah, of
So they
course.
shut down on us. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't fault anybody for that because I don't always have the answer. If I don't know what you're going through, I don't, I can shut down too. So I don't fault
Yeah.
anybody for that, but I think yeah, I guess that's been my experience. So,
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you had a coming out party and went to debut your head. That's great. All right. Is there anything else that you want to Okay, here's a good question. Coping mechanisms that people don't talk about. There's others too. There's compulsive behaviors, like you're talking about. There's addictions that I struggled with. There's anxiety. There's perfectionism. What do you want listeners to know about BFRB that they don't? Because this is not well known, right?
yeah. I guess it's just my goal is to just let people know about it, that it exists. They say that
Yeah.
1 in 20 people have some form of BFRB, which is not a lot, but it kind of is a lot too.
That's a
Um,
bigger number than I would have thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that there is a word for it or that it's a real condition because like most people haven't heard the term trichotillomania or dermatillomania before. I know I heard it for the first time when I was like 13, 14 after I did a Google search. But yeah, I started my TikTok page after I shaved my head to try to tell people about my experience. And I did one TikTok video where I said, if you pull your hair, pick your skin, bite your nails, and you can't, and you want to stop, but you can't, this video is for you. And it got 4.6 million views, 2,500 comments, lots of people interacting with it and saying, this is me. Oh my God, I never knew that this was a thing. That's real.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess I think the more people talk about it, the more people will be aware of what it is. And it
And
actually
not
doesn't,
feel alone. And not
yeah,
feel alone, Jesse.
because
That's
there's so much shame that
yeah.
keeps people from talking about it, right?
Well, and from living. I mean, if you're always wanting to sit in the back and hiding, that's
Hmm.
not living.
Yeah.
That's not the freedom. That's not contentment and satisfaction and safety in your body. So, yeah, yeah, amazing. I appreciate that you're bringing awareness to it. And what we're trying to do on this podcast is my main goal. It's doing really well algorithm wise, all of that Apple hit top Apple podcast, but is to catch people, it comes across their desk on that day where they're not sure they're going to make it to another one. Do you know what I'm saying? You catch my
Mhm.
drift? So that they don't feel alone. So that they know that we're all struggling just in different ways.
Yeah.
And we all have something that we're keeping, all of us, because we're humans, and that's what we're
Mhm.
going to do. And we're not going to be posting the worst parts of us on Facebook. That's not what happens. In my second marriage, by the time I finally got out, I had done such a good job of posting fake ass pictures that like nobody believed me about what was really happening behind the scenes, because I had done such a good job of covering everything up, that when I finally came forward, I mean, I lost a lot of people because of it, because I was not believed in terms of what I had endured behind the scenes. So, yeah, nobody's on Facebook posting their worst moments. They're just not. So, I
Exactly.
appreciate you bringing awareness. And I love the fact that people showed up to support you and go, me too, and say thank you. You probably needed that
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
25 years of hiding in shame. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here's the last question we always ask all of our guests. What did you perform in order to survive? And what did dropping that role, that mask, that performance, or that identity do for your life once it no longer served you?
Oof. I guess I would say with my experience, I performed pretty small in order to protect myself, like hiding a lot of the time and not wanting to be seen. That
Mm-hmm.
is performing as somebody who's small, and who's other puts
Mm-hmm.
other people's thoughts and feelings above their own, because my concern was, oh, what are they going to think of me? Why is that more important, right? Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
The games
Um,
we play with ourselves. I love that answer. I love it. Yeah, playing small is a performance too. Yeah, shrinking, trying to disappear,
yeah,
instead of really standing in that glowing, beautiful, divine, spiritual power that
yeah.
you seem to have now. All right, one last question. What are the conversations you want to be having that people aren't talking about it? Is it more of this, just bringing awareness to that this exists and it is normal for some people and their brains are just wired differently? Is what's the conversation you want to be having that people aren't?
I mean, there's people having great conversations all the time, so I can't really say what people are not talking about, but I would say for sure, like, it's not something you think it's not what you think. You think you have control over your hands, and so did I my whole life, but there's, like I mentioned from the beginning of this podcast, there's so much happening in our bodies that we don't have full control of, and that's not to, like, discard any accountability for yourself and the things that you can do for yourself, but just give people the benefit of the doubt when they tell you, like, what they're dealing with and what it feels like for them. Um, yeah, and don't assume that you know everything, because, like I mentioned as well before, like, our judgment is where we are not able to become curious and to actually understand things.
Yeah, and explanations are not excuses. Explanations are data for us, to actually help us move forward. So I absolutely love that. Well, Jesse, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your courageous story with us. Thank you for educating us. I so appreciate you and your journey. And I'm going to check out your TikTok account that had 4 million views in just a few days. That's insane and so good for you. We'd love to have you back later. We can talk about another topic. Thanks for coming. My friends, remember, ask yourself the question, what are you performing in order to survive? And is it still serving you? And if it's not serving you, what will you gain by dropping the roles, the identity, the masks, and the performances? And also start having the conversations that you actually want to have that nobody's having. All right, guys, I'm your host, Lisa Lacey, here with Jessie Hannah. Thank you so much, Jessie. Welcome to the Edge, guys. We'll see you next time.